system has a flaw. You just need to know where to press. On a freezing night in 1944, a maximum security prison cell lost its inmate through a gap that shouldn't have structurally existed. The heavy iron door was still locked, the bars were untouched, but beneath the bed there was a dark, jagged opening barely wide enough for a human torso. The guards searched the perimeter for hours. Nothing. No footprints in the snow outside, no broken gates, no missing uniforms. It was as if the inmate had simply dissolved into the concrete itself. This wasn't his first time breaking out. That was the real problem. The man who vanished that night had already dismantled 2 other maximum security facilities. His name was Yoshi Shiratori, and eventually the justice system stopped asking how he was doing it. They just wanted to know when he would do it again. To understand Shiratori, you have to look at the engineering he was up against. The 1930s Japanese prison system was built to be an inescapable machine. Absolute isolation, total surveillance. The cells were calculated architectural grids of reinforced concrete, dense timber, and heavy tempered steel joints. Every single movement inside the block was scheduled down to the exact second. For thousands of inmates, it worked perfectly. It broke them. But Shiratori didn't fight the machine. He studied it. While other inmates wasted energy in conflict, Shiratori sat in the dark and analyzed the routine. He memorized the guard shifts. He counted the footsteps in the hallway until he mapped the exact blind spots in their patrol routes. He monitored how the temperature drops at night caused the wood and iron to shift. He realized a fundamental truth that the architects had overlooked. A perfectly predictable system is a vulnerable system. You just need enough time to find the gap. And his breakthrough came from something completely ordinary, a bowl of miso soup. Every single day, Shiratori was served a standard ration of warm miso soup with his meals, and every single night, under the cover of total darkness, he quietly poured small amounts of the salty broth directly onto the metal bolts holding his cell window framework together. At first, nothing happened. The iron remained completely solid, but a prison escape like this isn't built on a sudden burst of action. It's built on microscopic repetition. Weeks turned into months. The high salt content in the soup was slowly, aggressively eating away at the iron, rusting the bolts out from the inside. The guards walked past his cell every hour, looking directly at the window frame. They never noticed the structural decay. Why would they? Nobody looks at a bowl of lunch and sees a tool for structural demolition. By the time winter arrived, the corroding bolts were loose enough for Shiratori to unscrew them with his bare hands. But he still had a massive structural problem. The opening left behind by the frame was minuscule. It was a tight, narrow slit, far too narrow for an adult male skeletal frame to fit through. So Shiratori unhinged his own body. He intentionally dislocated both of his shoulders, flattening his torso, and dragged himself through the gap. The response from the Ministry of Justice was immediate panic. They became entirely obsessed with stopping a single mind. They transferred him to Abashiri Prison, a brutalist frozen fortress in the extreme northern wilderness of Hokkaido, designed specifically to break an inmate's mind before they could even think of escaping. They gave him thicker steel plates. They doubled the guards. They kept a blinding light over his head 24 hours a day. But the upgrades didn't matter, because the new security measures were still dependent on a routine. And Shiratori lived in the routine. When they increased patrols, he timed the exact microseconds of the guard handoff. When they reinforced the steel on the doors, he stopped looking at the walls entirely and started analyzing the joints in the floorboards. On a freezing winter morning, the guards opened his cell door. He was gone. There was no dramatic pursuit, no confrontation, just an empty room, a cold draft coming through the floor, and a massive systemic failure that the authorities couldn't explain. Years later, Yoshi Shiratori became a kind of ghost story, whispered among prison guards during the graveyard shift. a quiet reminder that no matter how heavy, absolute, or perfect a structure appears, sometimes they're simply the ones willing to wait longer than the system expects.